I call the Honourable Member Carol Beaumont.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair, and how timely I get to respond to some of those comments that the Minister's just made about industry training, because I concur with the comments that my colleague David Shearer made about this government's lack of commitment to lifelong learning. And one particular aspect where it is a complete disgrace is the role of TEC in funding industry training. And just for the record, let's note that industry training has been slashed in this year's budget. After $55 million of cuts last year, a further $90 million has been taken out over 4 years. That means tens of thousands of trainee places are gone. Now, there may be issues about needing to improve quality, but there's two ways you can go here. You can either just cut money out of the system and have less trainees, or you can focus on what is working. And that's where the Minister failed to address the issues. There are many industry training organisations that are doing a good job, that are delivering good outcomes for trainees, that are lifting skills levels in New Zealand. And what should be happening is not cutting money out of that sector, but actually finding out what works and investing the money there. And I think it's a complete disgrace that $55 million went out of industry training and into the university sector instead of putting that money into more apprenticeships and more industry training where we need it and where it was working. And the tertiary education strategy is meant to be what the TEC is responsible for implementing. And in that strategy it says that the government sees the tertiary education system as a key national asset which enriches New Zealanders' lives, increases their employment opportunity and helps to build a productive skills base to drive economic growth. Well, frankly, the record in the skills area is a complete disgrace. The participation rates in industry training are down. The participation rates in apprenticeships are down. It seems that National thinks these are nice to have things rather than essential to meet the skill shortages that we all know exist. And that's business groups, unions, community groups understand there is a problem here, but not this government. And I'd just like to quote from Phil O'Reilly, who says, as we get out of this current slump, and let's hope we do sometime, we're going to have skill gaps appearing all over the place. And you know, business people are looking at that increasingly to say, well, what's the story there? What are we going to do about that? Well, that's a good question. What are we going to do about the skill gaps that exist in New Zealand? And the reality is that investing in industry training and apprenticeships lifts productivity, something that the government says that they're concerned about. There's no doubt all of the evidence is there that lifting skills and better utilising skills will lift workplace productivity, giving us economic growth, better and more satisfying jobs and better paid jobs. So why doesn't the government support that? I think it's actually a failure to invest in our people. It's a form of economic vandalism. It's short-sighted. We are going backwards in relation to many other countries, including Australia, where they have increased an additional $3.6 billion in skills and training over 6 years in their recent federal budget. That was on top of a higher base than us. So what are we doing? Not only are we cutting investment in skills and therefore the ability to lift our workplace performance, but now we've got a Prime Minister who says, oh, as well, we're going to cut workers' rights. We're going to have workplaces that are low quality, low skill and low wage. That's the prescription of this national government, and anybody who thinks that that will deliver the kind of incomes that we need as a country, the kind of economic growth we need as a country is wrong. And if the Minister thinks that's funny, then he only needs to look at our comparative performance to countries like Australia, like the Scandinavian countries, where there is a significant investment in skills, and ask himself the question, what's the difference? Why do Australian workers get 30% more wages than New Zealand? Well, part of the answer, not all of it, but part of the answer is because there is more investment in people, and it's recognised that paying people properly means that you will want to ensure that they're well skilled, that their skills are well utilised. And so I say to the Minister that the work of the Tertiary Education Commission in implementing the tertiary education strategy has gone wrong, and the reason it's gone wrong is the direction of that Minister. And I urge him to re-look at cutting industry training. It is the most short-sighted cut that I can imagine, and it sits on top of 2 years of no new initiatives in skills And then we see cuts of $55 million last year, and now a further $90 million worth of cuts in skills training. That is an absolute disgrace. And on the streets of New Zealand, people understand how short-sighted that is.
I can hear you, Mr. Quinn.